Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail, and welcome to Game 2 of the Scrolls Invitational Open Qualifier Final between Artr0x and Light. Both of these players have been through a brutal tournament so far, a one-day event, and it's now down to a best-of-5 series between both players. Artr0x is going to be playing Order, Light playing Growth. Light taking Game 1 very quickly in a Growth wet dream kind of opener with two vetters and a lot to follow it up with. So Artr0x is going to have to see if he can respond. Light gets to go first. And Artr0x gets what maybe could be considered a depressing opening hand, because those Imperial resources are great cards to have later, but in the early game they're just going to be more sacrifice bait. So I'm sure Artr0x would rather have gotten those pulls later. But a Spearman, Skirmisher, or useful cards certainly in the Kabak will certainly put a dent if Light tries to Vader. So this is a game from Artr0x's perspective. I do not have Light's side of this replay. So we do have Light starting with Growth again. Artr0x getting multiple Spearmen. But it's just going to be a matter of who can get what cards out early. And right now we have the Kinfolk Brave, who's a card that's very vulnerable to Spearmen, but also a card that puts high pressure and attacks very quickly. Artr0x getting rid of his haste draw that he got because he has no creatures to play on it, or focus draw, excuse me. Because he has no creatures to play on it, so there's no reason to really pocket at this point. As Light gets out a Sister of the Fox, and it could be that he has a Fertile Soil in his hand to play next turn. So Artr0x drawing a Blessing of Haste and getting rid of it, because once again, he has no creatures on the board that he can play that he can haste. But he does have enough order to go ahead and put out a Royal Spearman here. And a Royal Spearman is a great counter to both of these cards because they both do, or they're spiky too. And that'll do 2 damage to any card that attacks it physically. So Light moving his Kinfolk Brave down, and Artr0x drawing a Mangonel, once again ditching it because there's no great early play for the Mangonel. So it's going to just come down to, what does he want to play? Is he going to play the Skirmisher, or is he going to play another Spearman and try and pin in some of these units while attacking? He elects to go with the Skirmisher. So there is Artr0x being a little more offensive. So it's going to be up to Light now to see how he responds. He maybe doesn't have a Fertile Soil, or maybe he's saving the Fertile Soil to play on the Sister. But let me go ahead and hit play again there, as it's now going to be Light sacrificing for Scrolls, and he gets a Great Wolf out. So right there, and actually that's an odd move. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be Light having an opportunity to kill this creature next turn. But Light kind of being on the 2-for-1 exchange that you don't necessarily want to be on here, taking 2 units and killing them both to take out that Spearman. But Growth really doesn't like Spearman. So now this Skirmisher is vulnerable, but Artr0x is going to be able to drop a Ducal Spearman right back down if he wants to. So he has 5 resources, and he elects to move his Skirmisher up, and there's the Spearman. So right away, Light sacrificing 2 of his creatures to take out 1 Spearman, and Artr0x just putting out another Spearman. Don't troll me. I don't think it's really trolling. But Light getting the Druid Burial Ground out as well. So that's actually a really nice play, because that's going to heal the Brother of the Wolf, so that mitigates some of the spiky damage, as now the Spearman's down to 1. But Artr0x drawing a Pother at just the right time, because he can Pother this and take out the Brother of the Wolf and do some damage to the Great Wolf, as well as he gets out a second Skirmisher. So right there, Light getting out the Druid Burial Ground, and that's the threat that you face when you play Order and put those structures down. There's no guarantee you'll be able to protect your creatures. Fortunately, he didn't have a focus to play as well, so the Great Wolf survives. Not that it would have killed him, but it would have made him a lot weaker. So Light has to respond now. This is looking like a much beefier line of units. And that's a good start. The Kinfolk Veteran is a great card for taking out a lot of Spearmen, and he can take some hits. But right now we have 1 Ducal Skirmisher goes down to 1 health, 1 to 4, and facing kind of a nasty lineup here. So Artr0x is going to do Transposition, at least for card draw, and to also protect this Skirmisher, and he gets a Focus, which is going to be a really good card for next turn if he can keep it. And the Royal Skirmisher comes out as well. All of these cards are relentless, as the Druid Burial Ground is going to protect, or going to heal just a little bit. So Light sacrificing for Scrolls, and there's the Mangy Wolf. So he won't be able to take out both Skirmishers, but at least he'll be able to take out one of them. So both of these players protecting their lines early. You can see Artr0x has pocketed one of his Imperial resources for later on. And he happens to draw another Imperial resource, which puts him in a little bit of a conundrum, because he'd probably like to be able to do some damage to the Great Wolf again by playing the focus. But it's more important for him to possibly play one or both of these resources. And he can actually kill 2 units here by just playing these cards. So that's why Artr0x will sacrifice the focus there. Go ahead and play 1 Imperial resources, draw 2 more cards. Overall, solid turn of events for Artr0x. Good to get those Imperial resources there. And that's where I said around turn 8, turn 9, turn 10, as we enter the mid-game, Imperial resources starts to become a card that can really put order over the top. It does cost 7 resources, pretty much a turn, but that extra card draw really gives a great advantage. So Light back down to 1 creature, 1 structure, and 5 cards, and there's a Pother as well as, oh, that's an unlucky Pother. There's only a 20% chance that that Ducal Skirmisher would go one direction, and it went the direction that protects the other ones. So Artr0x saying wow there, and there is the Kinfolk Veteran to do some damage. Light saying, oh well, what can you do? As Artr0x has a good focus and actually decides to kabonk the Druid Burial Ground, which is an interesting move, but the sooner he can take out that healing structure, the better, as he's also going for some card draw as well. And there is a Knight Scholar in place. He could have played the Ducal Spearman there, but the Knight Scholar's beefier unit going to do more to actually keep these guys from dying if Light can attack with all of these units. So right now, Light moving his Great Wolf down. Not at all the huge card advantage of last time, as there's the first Vetter. And there's a Rallying as well, so that Knight Scholar is going to go, but once again, we have just a good trade here, because notice he put down the Vetter after or before he played the Rallying. That allowed him to actually get the speed buff as well. So Artr0x kind of looking to be in a not friendly position here with just 1 Ducal Skirmisher facing off against this line of units. But what's he going to do? He could play Imperial resources, but he elects to kabonk as well and restore his board a little bit. He could play a General, he could play a Spearman, he could do any number of things. He elects to Pother the Great Wolf. And he does have a potential for flipping, but he elects to focus here. And that'll be a good job for taking out the Veteran if he wants to. He drops the Spearman as well just to protect his unit. And finally, Artr0x doing a little bit of idle damage, but more importantly, turning around that situation where there were a bunch of creatures on the board, and playing 2 cards that gave him some card draw as well. So by not getting the itchy Imperial resources finger, he didn't concede the board, as now Light could possibly take this match back. He elects to play Imperial resources, and he does have a speed mangonel combo now. He does have a flip that he could play to expose this Great Wolf while it's hiding. So overall, plenty of things he can do. He's going to go ahead and move down his cards, or move down his creatures, just to try and stay out of range of Light, unless once again he can do some tricky Pother play, or unless he has some kind of transposition in his deck, or new orders. But Light instead opting to attack the top idol, as he plays a Kinfolk Veteran down here to put pressure on the Spearman. Light not wanting to expose his Great Wolf. He hasn't been able to buff him with so many other wolves, and right now, even though he used that Kinfolk Veteran to do damage to the Ducal Spearman, that's not a position you want to be in as growth. You want to be trying to put these out to try and take down a unit. And so far, all he can do is weaken it, and he's essentially sacrificing this Kinfolk Veteran for 3 direct damage. Now, there is a Brother the Wolf who can summon a wolf next turn, but the Royal Vanguard is now present. That's going to buff everybody. There's another Knight Scholar, as this is where the 2 Imperial resources are really putting Artr0x together as we dive into the mid-game. So there's a Fertile Soil for Light. He needs to get more cards. He needs to get more things on the board. But right now, he's very much still in the game. But it looks like he's not having nearly as good of a time responding as last time with this game, as he actually drops a Ragged Wolf to take out the Spearman. So Light, what have we learned? He really, really doesn't like Spearman. So what can Artr0x do here? He gets 2 speeds. He has an Honorable General. This could get ugly in just a moment, as you may well see. And in fact, if he sacrifices for resources, it would be possible for him to play a General, a Speed, and a Flip all in one go. Or he could Pother, or he doesn't even have to do that. he could just go ahead and clear out that Great Wolf that Light had tried so hard to protect. And excuse me on the miscall there, he had already sacrificed for cards. But Artr0x taking out the Great Wolf, which is probably the biggest threat. The Brother of the Wolf summoning wolves can add up the board over time, but Artr0x this time getting on top of the curve and staying ahead of it. Light not being able to respond to Artr0x's onslaught of units. He gets out a Kinfolk Brave, and that's going to be enough to take down the Vanguard. But Artr0x still with plenty to play with. He does get a Blessing of Haste. He could speed here. He could speed Mangonel. He could flip. All kinds of options. But at least for now, he's putting down another Night Scholar to protect his Relentless unit and gets out another Vanguard. So devastating to have 10 resources. And look at all the stuff Artr0x has in his pocket. He can pretty much respond however he wants to by moving units, by dropping artillery if needed. By just speeding his freaking general. That's usually enough to do a lot of damage here. So there's a rally again as Light is holding on by taking out these Vanguards. But there's the Pother, which there's a fortunate Pother. There's a 50% chance, or, well, no, it's not a fortunate Pother. There's a 50% chance to go up or down. But once again, you can't be guaranteed to hide your units behind a structure against a player that's playing any order. And most decks actually carry Pother, no matter what resource. But there we go. Artr0x able to put his units ahead. And is he going to play the Blessing of Haste as well? No, he's going to hold on to that because all of his units are going to be able to attack anyway. He can save the haste, he can save the speed. And there's a Ranger's Bane on the Royal Skirmisher. But it's looking like for Light, unless he's got some miracle play here, it could be too little too late. And there's the GG from Light. He goes ahead and concedes it. Maybe he didn't have cards in his hand. I don't know. But right now we're back to 1-1 as Artr0x is taking a game from Light just by getting his Imperial resources out and being able to go over the top and fill his board while clearing Light's board. So that's the second game of the Open Qualifier for the Scrolls Invitational. This is Way to Fail, and we're going to continue with Game 3. Look for the link in the description or annotation. I will see you all next time.